The deal is coming by the prince to start the 70th week spoken of by the prophet Daniel. Minister, normalization with 4 states, including Saudis, expected within months. Intelligence Minister Eli Cohen says Israel expects to sign additional normalization deals in the coming months. We certainly expect to sign more agreements with Saudi Arabia, Oman, Mauritania and Niger in the coming months. Qatar's rapprochement with Saudi Arabia also increases the chances of normalization with Israel, he tells the Ynet news site. In related news, Al-Qaeda calls on Muslims to target Israeli visitors to Arab countries. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula called on Muslims to revive the Palestinian issue, expose those traitors, expose the enemy's plans, and reject all these agreements, and to seize the opportunity presented by the visits of Jews to Muslim countries to cut off their heads. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula condemned the governments of the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan and Morocco for normalizing relations with Israel and called on Muslims to target Israelis who visit these countries, according to a report shared exclusively with JNS by the Middle East Media Research Institute MEMRI's Jihad and Terrorism Threat Monitor (JTTM). In the January 8 issue of its Al-Wa'i publication, an editorial described these Arab governments as traitors. It accused them of taking a humiliating stance regarding the Palestinian issue, the Jewish occupation and the violation of the criminal Jews against the Muslims nation, the Palestinians and the sacred land. The editorial went on to describe the Arab government's positions as shameful and submissive to the Ziono-Crusader coalition, and hostile to the Mujahideen and those who are defending themselves in Palestine. It further accused them of blatantly selling out the Palestinians to the Jews in exchange for a handful of worldly goods. The editorial concluded, according to JTTM, by urging Muslims to revive the Palestinian issue, expose those traitors, expose the enemy's plans, and reject all these agreements, and to seize the opportunity presented by the visits of Jews to Muslim countries to cut off their heads, as the jihad waged against Jews today is not limited to those who are in Palestine, since the Jews are walking around in the region, and this is a rare opportunity that was not available in past decades. Scoop. Netanyahu demands full control over Israel's Iran policy, sparking pushback. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is demanding full control of Israel's Iran policy as Joe Biden prepares to assume the Oval Office, setting off a fierce fight at the highest echelons of Israel's government, senior Israeli officials tell me. Why it matters, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is preparing to take a very hard line over Biden's plan to return to the 2015 nuclear deal, in contrast with the more moderate approach favored by Defense Minister Benny Gantz, Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi and the heads of Israel's security services. Driving the news, on December 29, under orders from Netanyahu, Israeli National Security Advisor Meir Ben-Shabbat sent a one-sentence letter to Gantz. According to the Prime Minister's instructions, the Israeli government position regarding the Iran nuclear deal will be finalized exclusively by the Prime Minister on the basis of analysis done by the National Security Council in the Prime Minister's office. Axios obtained the contents of the letter, which was also sent to Ashkenazi, Israeli ambassador to Washington Ron Dermer, Mossad Director Yossi Cohen and IDF Chief of Staff General Aviv Kachavi. No explanation was provided as to the timing of the letter or why it was sent, Israeli officials tell me. Behind the scenes, Gantz was stunned by Netanyahu's letter and replied 2 days later with a letter of his own. Gantz wrote that the Prime Minister does indeed have the authority to finalize Israel's position, but not to disregard almost the entire security establishment and intelligence community while also bypassing Israel's security cabinet. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you can get notified whenever new Bible prophecy news videos are uploaded. In other news, this is not a vaccine, says Eretz Shiva. The Israeli people haven't been given information required for a sufficient risk-benefit analysis in this extraordinary endeavor. Satan knows that in the time of Jacob's trouble, God will preserve 144,000 male virgin Jews, and the devil is on track with attempting to break that scripture, but we know, the scripture cannot be broken. The nation of Israel is at this moment engaged in a historic and decisive juncture that will determine the trajectory of this people now and for the foreseeable future. It is an undertaking that cannot be overstated. As is now widely publicized, revealed initially by former PM Ehud Barak and then Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself, a deal has been made. In Israel, Pfizer has found a home for its experimental pilot program of expansive human trials. According to Barack, Pfizer has chosen our country for its decades of meticulously recorded medical and vaccination records, which allow it to explain adverse reactions to its product by pointing to previously existing conditions within the patient. In effect, Bibi has signed up his people, all 7 million citizens aged 12 years and over, without our informed consent, to become the first country in its entirety to do human testing on a technology which has been, for many decades, attempted and failed in the laboratory. Thus far, the pilot study is moving at truly astonishing speed. Some 2 million people have already been injected under a program that runs daily from early morning until late night, even on Shabbat. However, the Israeli people have not been given the information required to make a sufficient risk-benefit analysis in this extraordinary endeavor. In fact, they have been given little information at all, and that includes complete opacity of data on the unfolding outcomes of adverse reactions currently taking place. Our citizens must first and foremost define the discussion in order to accurately weigh their choices. What they are being asked to inject is not a vaccine as defined by the CDC as a product that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease. Rather, it is an experimental and novel technology. By definition of the FDA as a component used as treatment to affect a body's function, it is indeed a medical device, a physical device that comes in a molecular-sized package. Erroneously referring to this intervention as a vaccine exploits the public's ingrained trust of the vaccination program to solicit knee-jerk response and action. It keeps us entrenched in needless debate in place of taking the necessary measures to investigate the impact on our health. DNA is, in short, the basis for our genetic structure. Inside each cell are codes which transfer its information to make proteins through messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is an intermediary between gene and protein, and the protein elicits the immune response, not the RNA. The contents of this shot being given on an experimental basis is a synthetic messenger RNA that is inserted into the human system to activate the cell to manufacture, in this case, a spike protein. An mRNA vaccine is not a vaccine, because it does not elicit an immune response. What it is genetic engineering. In related news, post-vaccine outbreak in Israeli nursing home. Nursing home in central Israel maintained 0 infections among residents for 10 months, nearly 30 test COVID positive after vaccine. 4 to 5 Magen David Adom vehicles this Shabbat arrived at a nursing home in central Israel to evacuate approximately 30 residents to hospital, a source inside the nursing home said to Eretz Shiva. According to the source, another evacuation took place on Monday. Ichilov Hospital coronavirus ward nurse Yair Rosenhoft, annexed to the nursing home where he previously worked, told Eretz Shiva that the institution had maintained 0 infections among the residents for the 10 months of COVID outbreak restrictions. About 2 weeks ago, the nursing home began vaccinating residents for COVID-19. After about 30 residents tested COVID-19 positive, Rosenhoft was contacted by the nursing home and asked to return to help with the crisis. One of the residents who was evacuated to internal COVID Ward C at Meir Kfar Saba Hospital, Natalio Bendelman, has died, his daughter confirmed to Eretz Shiva. A source inside the nursing home emphasized that there is no connection between the vaccination and outbreak, telling Eretz Shiva they were infected despite the vaccine, not because of the vaccine. The residents of the nursing home were vaccinated with only the first dose, after which, according to the authorities, there is a very low efficiency against the virus. Even after the second dose, a patient must wait for 10 days before he is seen as vaccinated and 95% immune against COVID-19. Some of the people connected to the nursing home say that the outbreak may be a result of additional citizens who came to be vaccinated and by doing so entered the area and may have brought the virus with them. Others said that it may be due to a lack of efficient coronavirus testing of the employees working in the nursing home. The Health Ministry maintains a section on its Hebrew website dedicated to the Magen Avid, senior citizens component of its COVID-19 program. The section includes a morbidity-mortality tracker with statistics from nursing homes nationwide. The tracker had been updated until December 30th, after which date no further morbidity-mortality data are offered. The date coincides with the commencement of the vaccination program for the elderly. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And stay tuned to Watchman Report for more Bible prophecy news. To learn how to receive forgiveness of sins and get your name in the book of life, visit beingjustified.com today. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Tomorrow is not promised. Make sure your eternal soul is being justified.